I think this is a great opportunity to kind of get to know what the Vid Project does, who they are, what the values and everything like that. So
Okay.
let's start with the first question, the $1 million question. How did Vid Project get started and why?
I worked at Macy's, and in Macy's, I was going to graphic design school, going to art school, and I just knew deep down I always wanted to be a brand, like having my own brand, have my own business, like where it's going to take me. But I just knew that I wanted something of my own, something, I came up from like the graffiti background. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. A person puts a piece on a wall and they've territorialized it. So they created this like little territory. So I was inspired by that. And then going into art school and trying to get into art school, you realize that you could do so much with art. The teacher that I spoke to is like, hey, you can be a graphic designer. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like I could do, what can you do with graphic design? Well, you can make this, you can make logos, you could do art, you could do prints, you could do stickers and all sorts of things. So that really fascinated me. I was really excited about that. And within working at Macy's and going to graphic design school, I got in a car accident that caused me to slow down in life and caused me to, one, have debt with school. I eventually lost my job at Macy's. I eventually had to drop out of college, but I left school with this ability to, I cultivated curiosity. I was just curious at that point. Once you're in school and you're in art school, you learn so much. And I took it seriously, like, okay, well, if this button does this, then this does that. When I think of it in this way, like, you learn a program called Illustrator and it really reshapes the way you start thinking about things. So I think that ability, along with meeting other artists, meeting other creators that specialize in certain things, like you had animators, you had culinary arts, and you photographers, and you'd have conversations, right? So I left that school with that mindset, with that thinking. And my friend Robin approached me and said, hey, I have a brand called Uplifting Revolution. Uplifting Revolution is about, mindset, good consciousness, positive thinking, good food, very health and uplifting. The whole concept about that was very uplifting. And he said, hey, I've been following you for years and I would love for you to be our designer.
Wow.
And, as this grows, you get a percentage of it, or we didn't really there was no contract. It was just like two guys, and I can't say kids, but two guys, mid 20s going, yeah, let's try this. So I started designing prints. We started printing stickers. I would spend hours on working on things. The thing that we did not know is how to market ourselves. So we did a lot of testing. We started at this time, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube is very popular, which it still is. But I was like, okay, well, let's make photos. Let's make graphics. And once again, I didn't have a job. So the only way I was able to maintain money was I was doing gigs for people. I would charge, hey, you want a photo? I'll shoot your family. I'll shoot your wedding. And I had like this little crappy camera that I bought in school. So I was doing all these things to kind of make a living as an artist. I still had this goal of like, oh, I want to be an artist. Now, it's a long story, but the whole point is I didn't know how to market myself. So I figured, okay, well, by doing this, I will be marketing for people, but they'll also like spread my name and it'll somehow come back to me. And during that time, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to learn video editing because Instagram just released like this 15-second.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, if I could be one of the first people to learn this, maybe it'll go somewhere. Well, I started doing that and I started actually convincing hookah bars and convincing other people like, hey, let me do a video for you and I'll charge you like $100, $200. And in doing that, yes, I was slowly getting business, but it wasn't enough to like sustain myself, like a living. Editing took a long time. It was a pain in the ass sometimes. If I didn't drive, I'd have to like wait for Robin or I'd have to take the bus. And in the middle of all this, I had like creative jobs. I was looking for jobs on the internet. So
trying to make ends meet.
Yep, basically. And So what I decided to do was double down on creating exposure. Rather than creating a lot of exposure for other people, I was like, I'm gonna create exposure for myself. So I just started documenting myself. Anything that I would create for people, I'd somehow put it on my social and let people know, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I could do. This is us behind the shoot. This is us designing. Here's like how it looks like on my computer. Here's me in my bed drawing this thing. And I really honed in on trying to make a lot of pieces and putting them on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Well, what I didn't realize is through that process, I was creating a system. I was creating a batching system, which is like, if I could create X amount of pieces of content each month, I'll be able to use it for my next week, or I'll just have a little like a pocket full of these pieces. Yeah. And eventually I attracted other individuals that said, wow, I want pieces. I want micro pieces for my social media. So how can we work together? And at that time, I would look at individuals and I kind of size them up like, well, they live here. They could do this. They could probably afford a certain number. Before that, I was charging my hip hop artists, like my friends that were hip hop artists. I'd go to their shows and I'd do like 3 shows for $300, $400, And I was like, hey, this is exposure for yourself,
right? And
this is exposure for me. And it didn't pay enough, right? I just wanted to constantly get better. So the people that I ended up meeting, my first price was $800. I was like, I'll do $800 a month. And my math was, if I could get 4 clients that pay me at $800 a month, that's $3,200 a month. So that was my goal. I was like, okay, great. $3,200. That was more than I was making as a regular full-time artist, a full-time employee.
Right.
And that's where that came from. So it was a system that was cultivated through constant practice and eventually allowed me to understand, wait, there's this need. All I have to do is convince a person to batch each month. So each month I'm filming multiple pieces of content that they have in their pocket ready to go to use. Of course, now where it's at, there's a lot of other things that we've learned, how to strategize, how to script write, how to light, what kind of equipment makes what can you do with your phone? How can you fix the audio, planning? There's so many elements now that I've learned that I didn't know back then.
Before.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's kind of what inspired Vid Project and everything else around that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And having a platform of community of people that can share their work and their behind the scenes and their content.
Right.
That's
so the platform in itself was just kind of, well, I can't always go to that person. Like, what if a person wants me in Texas? And
that's a good point.
And there's one of me. So I was like, well, I do want to make a sustainable business. And as I'm doing this, I'm a creator, right? Right. But I want to I just still want that brand. I still want this brand, and I would love people to ride full for this brand. So if there's a person in Texas that believes in what we do, honors what we're teaching, they take great benefit, they'll be able to live a good life, and they don't have to worry about a lot of the other things, like how to use a certain, like, create the system on their own.
Right.
They'll be able to use Vid Project system, have a profile, find the right clients that speak to them, and work with them.
Yeah. And then be able to meet other creators too. And network with other people. Yeah. That's really neat. So
that was a byproduct.
Wow.
So someone approached me about that. They're like, hey, you know what? I really like that. Everybody that I've met in Vid Project so far is really friendly.
That's really cool.
And it was not
intention.
No, I was just like, I just want to make it easier for you to be found. Like, this needs to be a directory that creators get to be found. You're not, it's just so hard. Like Fiverr, you have to go through so many loops. There just has to be a section where, oh, I find you, great. Can I have a conversation with you? Great. Can I work with you? Great. Let's work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And saving time for the creator as well as the potential client.
Correct.
To get to where you need to be. That's awesome. That's really cool. So that kind of like also brings me to the next question, because it kind of entails to that. What does the Vid Project do as a whole, and what does it offer?
Great. As a whole, for creators, what I started with was it's a platform. Technically, it's a WordPress website where you could build a profile. You could share 6 pieces of your portfolio. You could share a piece of biography. You could share your social links, and people could search you on this WordPress site and find you and contact you, or contact me directly, and I could partner you guys. So what I want to do is be kind of like, not your dating expert, but it's like,
Can you imagine?
Yeah, like, hey, this creator's style probably matches yours. If a client comes in and goes and starts searching and finds a person and is able to communicate with them directly, awesome. But if they contact me and they're like, hey, I live in X, Y, and Z, and I really like this aesthetic, I'll look in my directory and be like, okay, this person here can really do that for you, And everybody's at a different, like, there's no set price bracket.
Right.
Like the creator, as much as I want to train everybody to have a certain price standard,
everyone's at a different level.
Everybody's at a different level.
That's cool. So when they go onto the Vid Project website, they'll be able to like search through cities and be able to search through once they pop in a specific area.
Yeah.
So you're basically matching a potential client with a local videographer within the area.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So
that is the goal.
Makes it easier for both the potential client and the videographer or filmmaker.
Correct.
That's awesome. You could still see like their work and their videos or anything that they've created and be able to contact them directly.
Correct.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to build, here's the thing. I don't know WordPress, and I don't know how the website designer before me built this. So I don't want to talk too much in the future on what I'm trying to build or what I'm building, but it's like I want a location where clients can also put their potential work there.
Oh, okay.
So a creator could be more incentivized to go onto our site and say, hey, I want to work with this person, but how do I join this account? And you won't get that person's info unless you create a profile
within the community.
Right.
Oh, that's really neat. So now it would be like the reverse side,
Correct.
The Uno reverse.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
Because creators can be like, oh, I know I could get a solid gig here, because I want to vet everybody that comes in here. Like, hey, can you, as a client, can you afford this? Can you deal with this? Are you okay with this amount of time to take to your goal? All these like other things. And that may not be making sense to you right now, but it will be.
It's a win-win overall.
Yes.
For both sides. That's awesome, because I've actually been curious, what is the ideal client of Vid Project? What kind of client do you work with?
Okay.
Clientele.
So I made it broad, like industry experts, and they're a small business, and small meaning a team of less than 12 maybe.
Okay.
Or max 20 people, right? That's still a small business.
Yeah.
Maybe they're profiting, 7 figures, maybe mid 500,000 plus type. And they also understand that content is important.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of the times that we attract a lot of feminine energy. So a lot of female entrepreneurs, business strategists, or, realtors, because our aesthetic is I think it's beautiful. It has a very bright feeling, and versus what a lot of things that I've seen is very cinematic, very shadowy, very like Nike just do it type of style.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, we're just like, we know that people need to be on social media, but we want to make them look good and have the aesthetic to look good. So we attract realtors, speakers, social media experts, marketers, people that need to show face, talk about a product, make their lifestyle a little bit more interesting, and that's what we want to attract. And what I've noticed is we attract other business. We attract like hair salons, donut places, candy shops, I'm pretty sure we've attracted some auto companies.
Yeah.
And there's like a various amount. We do want to hone in on a certain person that can afford all this. But if other businesses come, we're not going to deny them. It's business,
Yeah, you're not limited or restricted in one area.
Right. As long as I'm just happy that whoever decides to work with us, they understand that they want consistent content.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to help them in the long run, and it's going to help the creator in the long run too.
True. Keeping that cycle going. That's awesome. I like that. The next question I do have, which I think you already answered, but let's just make sure recap.
Okay.
If I needed a videographer as a potential client, I'm looking for someone. Can you help me connect to one?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you go about that?
Okay. So we jump on a call. So if we went through the entire scenario, you found me on social media.
Right.
We don't have advertising yet running through YouTube or Facebook or anything. We test a couple of things.
Yeah.
But you would probably find us through Instagram. You would message me. I would send you a link that allows you to book a call with me. We jump on a call, and then I'm asking you a series of questions. Things like, what's your end goal? What's your vision? What issues are you having in your business now? Why aren't you there now? What have you done in the past that you're not doing now? And what has brought you to working with us? Yes. And once I find out, then I go, okay, great. So if I could get you there, are you willing to work with me? And then I kind of, after you give me a small scenario of everything that you're going through, I build a proposal, and I have my set prices, but then other creators
will have their own.
Right. I do discuss budget sometimes in our second meeting. In our first meeting, what a lot of clients do, they mention the budget. But if it's, I don't want to say if it's low, but if it's a budget that they really need to work around, then I let them know that we can still help them, but it may not be, they'll get to their vision slower than they would taking this other
step.
So yeah, we have the conversation. I basically understand your entire goals, and then I find the right person that can work with you. And then the end result is that each month you're going to get a certain amount of pieces of content.
Mm-hmm.
What I realized though, now pieces of content has changed. You got reels, you got photos, you got carousels, you got GIFs, you got email graphics, you got regular graphics. So I do try to find creators that are more well-rounded, and hopefully that they could be your one-stop shop. It's not for everybody. Like
true.
True. But that's
awesome. It looks like you're already like answering them through. It's like you already seen these questions. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, because I think a lot of people have this question, like, what is the cost of a videographer once we have connected? And I know you mentioned a little bit how every videographer is on a different level. So, but with Vid Project, how does that look like?
Every creator is at a different level. There is no industry standard. It really comes down to how, I think when I first started, it really came down to how valuable do you find what I do for your company? And I will charge you based off that value. And it's still, it's still a big price. It's a 5-figure price. I start at a 5-figure price because of the experience that I have, what I know I'm capable of doing for somebody, and all the insights that come with like all my experience.
Right.
I'm not just gonna hit the button and hit record. I'm just gonna say, okay, go ahead. After we figure out your scripts, after we figure out your avatar, after we go through testing several pieces of content, I'm more comfortable to say, hey, you should really talk about this. Or can you say what you just said, but in this way? Because my goal as the videographer, I consider myself as part of your team. So I want to make you look gold. Like I want to make you look untouchable. I want to make you look like the expert that you actually are, So
like that.
It takes a minute to tell somebody, hey, you're like, how people go to therapy well, like, I'm your videographer therapist.
There you go. I like that.
That
needs to be a hashtag.
So yeah, and then we get to know you at a deep level. Like, at least I do. Other creators, I think they're doing the same thing, especially if you're working with them on a like ongoing basis. But at least for what I tell all my creators, I tell all the creators this, like, hey, get to know your person, love your person, really care about their brand. If they're successful, you're successful. The more they grow, the better you grow. Like, that's all it is,
Preach it for those in the back. It's so true. That's a really great perspective and mindset to really have, because if they succeed, then you really are succeeding, and that helps that process continue and have loyal clients.
Exactly.
So
yes,
I like the way you think, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I went further on the price, but yeah, it's like some creators could charge you $1,000 a month. Some creators could charge you $7,000 a month, depending on what your needs are.
Yeah.
Do you want 1 to 2 videos a month? Do you want 3 videos a month? Do you want 3 videos dissected into small little pieces? So there's no like menu. Everything's kind of like, oh, let's figure out what really works for you, and then we'll work from there. Yeah,
definitely.
But we do start off with like a standard. Yeah,
that's good, because it kind of also it gives you a perspective on how not only everyone's on a different level in regards to as a filmmaker or videographer, but it also provides an idea for those that are small local businesses to the big motivational speaker that needs to do 3 days or a whole week of session that they need help with. And that's the beauty with Vid Project that I really, really enjoy, is that you still give that creativity option for the creators. They set the pace once they meet up with the potential clients. So that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, they definitely have the opportunity. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could go on, but I know that you said it short and sweet, so that's perfect.
And then the last question I have for you is, how can a potential client reach out to you? So is it like then through the DMs, through the emails? If they have a question about, hey, I really like your work, but I don't know where to begin. Like, how do I reach out to you? Do I text message you?
Yeah.
Or
a great place is direct message for sure. Emailing info@thevidproject.com is a great place as well. And also going onto the website and hitting contact, finding a videographer, and in each profile that the videographer has, there's a contact button, and right next to them there's a calendar button. So the contact button contacts directly, the company. The Calendly button contacts the creator themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So they could kind of have, like, if they want to directly contact with the filmmaker, then they can actually set that up on separate.
Correct.
Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah. I just wanted it to be fair for,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.